dive.
Always. Where are we headed today?
Ancient India. I've always been fascinated by it.
Oh, yeah, me too. So much to unpack.
Definitely. Empires, religions, that whole caste system thing, right? It's a lot.
It's a lot, and really important for understanding India today, too.
Exactly. So that's our mission today, figuring out, well, which empire unified this massive and, diverse place.
Right, and what it was actually like to live back then. Think we can crack it.
Hopefully. We've got your notes, right? The India Notes EQ3.pdf. Looks like they focus on that question. Who unified India and what was it like back then?
Perfect. I think, well, the answer to the first part, at least, is pretty clear. It's the Gupta Empire.
Gupta Empire. Okay.
Huh.
And the notes say they were like an early medieval empire.
Yeah. It's a little tricky, though. Early medieval in India doesn't line up exactly with, European medieval times, you know?
So not knights and castles.
Not quite.
Huh.
But still, a time of big changes, old empires falling, new ones popping up, and this explosion of art, architecture.
Cool. So the Guptas came out of all that.
They did. And they really hit their stride, ushered in what historians call a golden age for India.
Golden Age. Now that sounds interesting.
It was a time of peace and prosperity, amazing advancements in science and art and literature.
But wait, back to unifying India. The notes single out Chandragupta II as the guy who made it happen.
Chandragupta II, yeah, he was, well, a remarkable leader. And he unified India not just through military power, but through, smarts.
Smarts. How so?
Well, he understood that you can't rule a place as big and diverse as India just by force, right? So he divided the empire into provinces.
Like states.
Kind of. Each province had a governor who answered directly to her. This way, he had control, but things were also managed locally.
Makes sense. A system for such a vast area.
Exactly. And it worked. The Guptas managed to create a strong, centralized empire that also allowed for regional differences.
So unified but not, totally uniform.
Exactly. Now, what about daily life under the Guptas? Your notes mention 3 major religions.
Right. Hinduism, the most popular one, and then Jainism and Buddhism, kind of like offshoots.
Well, offshoots isn't quite the right term, but yeah, they all existed alongside each other. Hinduism, with all its gods and emphasis on dharma, fulfilling your duty.
That's karma too, right?
Yeah.
What goes around comes around.
Exactly. Karma was a big deal. Now, Jainism was different. They stressed ahimsa, nonviolence, to all living things.
And bugs.
Even bugs. And get this, they didn't believe in any gods. A totally non-theistic religion.
Wow, that's different. And Buddhism, it ended up being way bigger in East Asia, right?
It did. But it started in India with Siddhartha Gautama. It also emphasized nonviolence and this idea of reaching enlightenment.
Okay, so 3 pretty different belief systems all at the same time.
Yeah, a real mix. Shows how diverse India was even back then. And your notes mention something else, asceticism.
Asceticism. Not sure I know that one.
So imagine giving up all your stuff, your possessions, your comforts to focus completely on spiritual growth.
Like becoming a monk or something.
Kinda. It was a path some people chose to break free from, the material world and get closer to enlightenment.
Huh. Interesting. But speaking of how society was structured, we got to talk about the caste system.
The caste system, yep, the notes tie it pretty directly to Hinduism.
It's like a hierarchy, right? Different levels of society.
Exactly. At the top, you had the Brahmins, the priests, and scholars. Then came warriors and rulers. Then skilled workers, landowners.
And at the bottom.
Sadly, at the bottom, you had the untouchables. People who were excluded from society faced all kinds of discrimination.
That's harsh. So basically, you were born into a caste and that was it.
Pretty much. It determined your job, who you could marry, even where you lived. Not much social mobility there.
Wow. So on to the philosophical side of things. I found some quotes in the notes that really jumped out at me.
Oh, I love a good quote. What did you find?
Okay, this one. You have a right to perform your prescribed duties, but you are not entitled to the fruits of your actions. You are only entitled to the action, never to its fruits.
That's classic Hindu philosophy. Detachment from the outcome. Focus on doing your duty regardless of the result.
Right. Deep. Here's another. Through selfless service, you will always be fruitful and find the fulfillment of your desires.
This one's about karma yoga, the path of selfless action. True fulfillment comes from serving others, not chasing personal gain.
Okay, and last one. This one really got me thinking. Death is sure for that which is born. Therefore, grieve not for what is inevitable.
Ah, yes, the acceptance of death is a natural part of life, a central theme in both Hinduism and Buddhism.
It makes you think, right? Anyway, the notes also mention Sanskrit.
Sanskrit, the language of scholarship, literature, and religious texts, so important for spreading ideas across India.
And still considered sacred by many Hindus today, right?
Exactly, a real testament to its lasting power. Oh, and speaking of sacred texts, the notes mention the Bhagavad Gita.
Or Bhagavad Gita, yeah, completed during the Gupta Golden Age, right?
It was a masterpiece of Hindu philosophy, a dialogue between the warrior Arjuna and the god Krishna, all about duty, karma, and, well, the nature of reality.
Heavy stuff. So we've covered a lot of ground here. The Guptas unifying India, their incredible golden age, the religions, the caste system.
We've seen how they governed, the philosophy that shaped their thinking. It's amazing how much they accomplished.
It really is. And it makes you realize how much of that is still part of India today, even in some small way.
Absolutely. That's what I love about studying history, seeing how these ancient empires, these ideas, still resonate with us today.
Makes you think, huh? What echoes of the Gupta Empire are still around? What can we still learn from them?
I guess that's for all of us to ponder.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into ancient India. We'll catch you next time for another adventure.
Looking forward to it.